right, let me add Kevin into the call. No worries. We're talking
Okay.
Patriots here on our show. You and I've prefaced it with you and I went back and forth on Twitter big time. Yesterday. Let's see if we've got both you guys here now.
Does this work?
It should. Do we got both you guys here now?
I can hear you.
You hear Kevin?
Hello.
I can hear Kevin. Kevin, what's going on?
What's up?
So I thought this was for a Belichick coach team. I thought this was a lock, man. What happened?
Well, I know we got into a little bit of a Twitter beef last night, but here's what I'm going to say. I think if Tom Brady was quarterback of this team, with that offensive line, they're still losing that game. I don't think they find a way to come back just because you're literally dealing with a right tackle who was a rookie. Well, they moved it all over the line. So Justin Herron's a 6th-round pick, right? He's okay. They have him at right tackle, at left tackle. On Wayne News, the 6th-round rookie who's played great, but guess what? He played left guard, and right tackle in that game. They had a second-year right guard, and Yandy Froholt, who comes in, right, his first action ever. He's thrown in there. They have their left guard, Joe Tooney, playing center. He snaps one over Cam Newton's head for a 15-yard loss on a drive that they might have scored a touchdown. Isaiah Wynn's dealing with a calf injury, so he, especially against Chubb, was not looking great. I think the offensive line is just really an issue that I think Cam Newton honestly fits this team better than what Tom Brady does. I'm not saying that Tom Brady isn't – well, he is better than Cam Newton, but for this fit, for what kind of weapons they have on this team, I think Newton makes more sense.
All right. Here's a bunch of my issues here. You can't tell me down 18-12 with a drive to win the game. Tom Brady's not turning that into a touchdown under Bill Belichick. I don't care who's on the field for him. You can't tell me he's not turning that into a touchdown at the end of that game and winning that game, finding a way to win that one.
Yes, I can tell you that because last year they had the same weapons, and guess what? Tom Brady wouldn't even throw it to N'Keal Harry. At least Cam Newton will, but guess what? He's not going to cut it. He's really been a disappointment. They have no wide receivers. Did you realize that their tight ends they've thrown to the least amount in the whole league, and they have no wide receivers? You know who their number 2 wide receiver is? Demir Bird, journeyman, coming from the Cardinals. They literally have nothing. Sure, Tom Brady, he did pretty well last year. They have 12 wins, but they were god-awful. 12-4 with nothing, and look what they did in the playoffs. They were absolute garbage, so don't tell me that.
Well, you ran into a hot Titans team.
A hot Titans team. Their defense is good, not great. And the last 3 games going into the season, going into the playoffs, the Patriots looked awful. Tom Brady looked completely disinterested. You should have heard him with the press. He didn't want to be here. They weren't winning it last year. They weren't going to win it this year with Tom Brady. They probably won't win it with Cam Newton, but I don't think they're winning that game.
I just like I do agree with you that Cam Newton fits this team better now, but I'm with you on the offensive line woes. And if there's too much offensive line not doing their job enough and, quite frankly, not being healthy, then you're going to lose that game no matter what. And what you told me with all that movement, I didn't realize.
Right. No, so their offensive line, it was actually been a strength of their team going into this game when everyone was healthy. So Shaq Mason also just went on the COVID list. I don't think he has COVID. He was in contact with someone with it. He was one of their best linemen with Joe Tooney there. So he's out. You're playing rookies all over the place, and it was just a recipe for disaster. And, you don't like to make the excuse that they didn't practice. They had 2 practices in 2 weeks because the Titans had no practice, and they blew the doors out on the Bills, who are a good quality team. But guess what? The reality of the situation is the Titans are just a better team than the Patriots. And when you have flaws like that, especially with players who really haven't played much, it's just a recipe for disaster. I don't think Tom Brady wins that game.
And I totally agree with you.
Could he? Yes.
I'm getting hung up on the fact. I agree with the whole thing about the offensive line. I agree with the whole game. I disagree with the fact that when you have a 1st and 10 at Denver's 24, with 1:17 to go in the 4th quarter, you don't. And Tom Brady's your quarterback. I think he wins that game hands down 99 times out of 100. I don't care who else is on the field. I think they find a way to win that game. And unfortunately, Cam Newton's the quarterback. Tom Brady isn't. And I'm upset about this game more because this is my lock of the week. I thought a Belichick team, I know they couldn't get into the practice facility, but I thought a team that had just a time to prep was going to come out and play a lot better than they did. If you had told me that Denver wasn't going to score a touchdown, I would have been like, how many points did the Patriots win by?
Right. The defense played great, I would have thought there's no way they're losing to Denver, but the reality of the situation was a lot worse than what we thought, and especially with Jermaine Illuminor, who's a right tackle. He went out, I think in the second or third series. Again, he's been a reclamation project who's been good this season. He goes out with an ankle injury, and you just got massive shuffling all on the offensive line. It's just really a disaster. So it was brutal, though. You got to say it was brutal. So they've got to be better.
So 5 games gone, 6 weeks gone for you guys. You guys had that bye week because of COVID. Sitting at 2-3 behind the 4-1 Buffalo Bills, who play tonight. The 3-3 Miami Dolphins, who have looked decent. They haven't played incredibly great teams. They blew the doors off the 49ers. Right. Where are your expectations now versus where they were at the beginning of the season for this New England Patriots team?
Listen, I think they're about where we thought they would be. I predicted that they were going to be right around a little over 500 going into the end of the year. So they're 2-3 right now, and honestly, it's not looking great because they have one of the most brutal schedules in the league. They're playing San Fran this week. They got the Bills and they got the Ravens. I mean, you're very happy with 2 wins. Yeah. Well,
you get to play the Jets twice. That's 2 wins.
That is 2 wins. But I'm just saying, for the next 3 games, that you're happy winning 2 of those games. So you're looking at what, 4 and potentially 4-4 at best, right? Unless I'm really bad at math, doing it off the top of my head here. But either way, it's going to be a grind all season. You expect the Titans to be not perfect in record, but the Titans, Chiefs, and Bills are going to be 3 of the top teams there. The Steelers look great. So the reality of the situation is you're going to be dogging it out for one of those last 2 playoff spots, and thankfully for them, the NFL added an extra team in the playoffs in each conference. So hopefully they can sneak in there.
Last thing I'll leave you with, as a Patriots fan, if I went back 2 years and said in 2 years you're going to be dogging it out for a COVID extra playoff spot, what would you have said to me?
It's not COVID extra. It's permanent.
Oh, whatever.
Hey,
extra playoff spot.
Right. This is what I'm going to tell you. Do I love winning Super Bowls? Yes, I loved all of them, all 6 of them with Brady. But in a lot of respects, these last 2 especially this offseason, has been kind of, for a lot of fans like me, are more exciting than normal. I mean, usually you got Brady and he's going to be your savior, but it's like, what are they going to do? A QB, they got Cam Newton, that brings a lot of energy. I mean, you definitely don't have as good of a chance to win, but in a lot of respects, it's pretty exciting. So I think it is very interesting, despite the chances of them winning a Super Bowl going way down. But you've got the whole thing with Tom Brady being apart from Bill Belichick. What's it going to be like? Maybe it's an oversimplification to say that based on one season of them being apart, who was the real deal there, who was the most to do with those wins. But I mean, there's a lot of good storylines in the season, and I'm still excited going forward.
Awesome. Thanks to Nick. Oh, what, you got one? Well, hold on. Kevin's got a counterpoint.
Okay.
Kevin, I've lost you on the phone.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
Well, then I guess we'll just have to discuss it after.
Okay, we'll discuss it after. Thanks to Nick for joining us, too. You can check his stuff out on readoptionsports.com. His blog, most recent post he put up regarding the Dak Prescott injury and his contract extension. You can check all of that out there. And we'll talk to you soon.
Chris, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. That's Nick McCarthy there. What was your point you wanted to bring up?
Here we go on the